A woman convicted of obstruction of justice in connection to a Virginia Beach murder case will not spend time in jail. Vanessa Johnson was initially charged with accessory after homicide for the death of Damon Graham in February of 2019 on Chartwell Drive, but that charge was amended. She received a 30-day sentence, but a judge suspended all of that time. Marquette Lee was convicted.
Okay, so the criminal justice system strikes again in favor of the Sun person, man. Salute to Vanessa Johnson. She ain't getting no time. The judge gave her no time.
Marquette Lee was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to 23 years behind bars in February.
So these two guys, look at the guys. Look at these guys. These guys, these are proto-humans, man. Jock. We're not real. We're not like we the iPhone 1, man. Look how we operate, man. We would have never made this great country, man. You know it.
Another man, Charles Wilson, was convicted of accessory after homicide and sentenced to a year in jail in March.
And look, they so unkempt. Look at their hair. All their hair is always nappy dreads. Just terrible looking.
The man convicted in connection to the 2011 murder of an ODU student is back in custody. U.S. Marshals captured Rashad Dooley yesterday in the parking lot of a business in Chesapeake. On September 14th, a jury found Dooley guilty on conspiracy charges in connection to the death of Chris Cummings. But Dooley wasn't there when the verdict was read. He had been considered a fugitive ever since. Dooley is now in the Norfolk jail. He talked to 10 on Your Side today.
Actually was coming from the bar getting some food. That's what they caught me at. They caught me at the bar getting some food. I wasn't running. If I was running, I would have been out of state hiding under a rock or something.
You can see.
He didn't turn himself in, though.
New information in a case our investigative team has been following closely for months. This morning, a Portsmouth judge found a known member of Portsmouth's 600 gang guilty of returning gunfire at a car. Investigators say passengers in that car shot at him and a 16-year-old boy. 19-year-old Cedric Davis Jr. received a $250 fine for the misdemeanor. The judge sent a charge of...
What? Hey, listen, man. They shot at him first, man. So he returned fire, man. Like, you can't listen, man. If you police the Sun community, remember you said this the other day, Fisherman, the system wasn't made for this.
Right. Like, I just couldn't believe the dollar amount. That's like, fucking make it $1. Fuck it.
It wasn't made for this. Like, people shooting at people, and now you got to shoot back. And if you, like, he's a Sun man out there in the streets, and like if they judge us the same way as they judge other people, all of us would be in jail. So I mean, I can kind of understand this one. Like, it's like, fuck. I mean, like, what could we do, man? Like,
yeah, it's
like,
the sheer volume of crime that the system can't handle.
The system was not made. The founding fathers, when they made that document, whatever, that's what I tell you, it's alive. Some people would have made it. It would have been just identical to what it was in 1787. It would have been harsh and draconian, and the penalties would have been brutal. And if you fucked up, that would have been your ass. Let me read some of these comments. Barbara says there were many presidents before Washington. First was Black George, voted for him, sent the link for the real first black president, John Hanson. I see Hotep talking about that shit. The first president was black. Yeah,
I remember they used to say the first president was on the back of the $2 bill.
Yeah, like, golly, man. Right.
In that car shot at him and a 16-year-old boy. 19-year-old Cedric Davis Jr. received a $250 fine for the misdemeanor. The judge sent a charge of allegedly being a felon in possession of a gun to the grand jury. The judge dismissed 2 other charges against Davis. The charges stem from a shooting that happened on April 21st at the Save and Save grocery.
So the judge just dropping charges and another shooting and just it's just like, yo. They don't know what to do, man.
Yeah, glider sensibilities, when we look at the numbers of some people in prison, we just can't rationalize that they're there justifiably because the number's so high. So we try to come up with some reason why there must be a kink in the system somewhere.
Right.
And it's just not there.
I think they're afraid to admit that their ancestors probably were right.
Right. Well, a lot of gliders don't even acknowledge the sentiments of people, 150 years ago.
At least not in a positive manner. And if they're so arrogant and think that they could replicate what they did in this time, I understand it took a lot of work and a lot of putting aside, certain differences to come up with something like the United States Constitution, or just even just the idea of people governing themselves.
Writing. That's the thing that you understand. Like, that's how deep it is. Just letters and putting them together and then meaning something. We would have never come up with that. Even though I can read and you can read, Marcy, and you're capable of that, I'm not talking about.
I can read too.
Brown Sugar can read too. Coming up with it. Yes, we can grasp it once it's given to us, but the idea of coming up with a written language to even make a constitution is like, we wouldn't have done that, and everyone knows that. Barbara says maybe Glider and Sun are on the opposite ends of the autistic spectrum. Suns have more sensory seekers, and gliders have more sensory avoiders. Gliders need to detox from sensory overload and museums and hiking. That's very interesting. I'm sure there's some truth to that.
Police are asking for your help in identifying two men they say robbed a Williamsburg restaurant. Take a look at these two.
What school is
you?
Yeah,
this school is not on none of the humans.
No, that's a smart son, man, because he don't have that ridge in his. I don't know. He don't have that ridge in his skull. Don't look like it. He got a big forehead. That's a smart son, man. Salute to him. But here go the two robbers right here. These look like white guys. These are gliders, man. Those are gliders.
Take a look at these two.
At the bottom right there.
Walked into a restaurant on Richmond Road and demanded money. The duo claimed to have a gun. They grabbed the tip jar and ran. One suspect.
They grabbed the tip jar and ran. Definitely gliders.
Oh, wow.
They claimed to have a gun. They didn't produce it. They grabbed the tip jar and ran.
Restaurant. Take a look at these two. Officers say they walked into a restaurant on Richmond Road and demanded money. The duo claimed to have a gun. They grabbed the tip jar and ran. One suspect is described as a white male between 5'6" and 5'9". The other is described as a young black man with a thin build.
Well, they gave races on that one? The hell?
Well, because the white guy was included.
Yeah, because he was a white man, yeah.
Yeah, they had to give both of them. Yeah, you're right. That's true.
They had to point out it was a white man involved.
We tell you it was a white guy.
And think about the severity of that crime of stealing a tip jar. Compared to the 4 fucking shootings that happened within 4 hours of that incident.
In other news,
that violence.
Yeah, well, y'all good at violence.
Y'all good at violence.
I'm just saying, like that kind of.
That element, that low level shit. Like, y'all are good at like war. Like, y'all can mob up together and work together and go invade a country.
Yeah, we need to believe in some type of higher purpose and political agenda and stuff. Like, you got to give us a manifesto before we're gonna.
Y'all diesel fuel when it comes to violence. Some people are like gasoline.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a flash. It's a flash.
Exactly.
In other news, what's next for a downtown Norfolk nightclub after City Council revoked its permit last night? We're talking about Scotty Quicks on Granby Street.
Tonight, we are hearing from Councilman Paul Riddick, who voted against the measure. 10 on your side, Tiana Patterson is live with this follow-up.
Yeah, Scotty Quicks is the fourth business to have its permit revoked in the last year. But now Councilman Paul Riddick calls it unfair. He says the move is unfair, and he believes black and brown businesses are being targeted unfairly. Some Norfolk City leaders are cracking down on nightlife in downtown Norfolk.
Okay, so cracking down on nightlife because of shootings all the fucking time. The same thing we saw in Atlanta. It's racist.
I hate this black and brown bull crap.
It's racist. It's racist to not want to have establishments that are constantly the scene of violent crimes open. Like, that's a glider thing. There's a problem. We address it. We remove the problem. That's a glider mentality. Some people are like, man, leave it open. So what? People getting shot. We don't give a fuck.
Well, or it's the store is the hangout for the Sun teens, and yeah, they need to close the store. They need to have more security out there to deal with that, rather than let's deal with the Sun teens that are hanging out there instead of the store.
Yeah, they're doing this type of thing in Wichita with the hotels full of the fucking meth users. And I guarantee it's not Sunmen who own them. It's Patels.
Salute to Freshman 321, man. He coming through a lot lately, man. Salute to you, Freshman 321, man. How dare you says, what African country can we point to as a shining city on the hill?
South Africa 20 years ago.
Yeah, South Africa 30 years ago. South Africa 30 years ago?
No, South Africa, they were going to have nuclear weapons. And the gliders that ran South Africa disbanded the program because they realized if they ever lost control of the government, then a bunch of Sun people would have nukes. So they stopped.
Are there any African countries that have nukes?
No, of course not.
Oh, yeah.
There aren't even any Arab countries that have nukes, man.
Man, there's not African countries that have reliable electricity.
Right, exactly. Like, you have to have, if you can't keep the electric grid up, you really don't need to be.
Everything else fails if that goes.
Yeah,
Or a sewage treatment plant.
Yeah, like just crawl before you walk, man. Genetic Freak says, "What's good, Op? I hope y'all see that this is how these shootings happen. This brother is over talking and arguing for no reason. See, he's talking about you, Jocks. Angry and typical frail Sun man ego. He sounds just like his mom. Man, you sound like your mama, man. What's wrong with you, man? But yeah, look at this shit, man.
The move is unfair, and he believes black and brown businesses are being targeted unfairly. Some Norfolk City leaders are cracking down on nightlife in downtown Norfolk to combat gun violence. Scotty Quiggs has had its permit to operate as a nightclub revoked. The city says the restaurant reported different amounts of meal tax to the city and to the state, but the owners say they did not have a chance to dispute the numbers.
We've called the city day after day after day to try to get an explanation of what's going on. Let's open a dialogue. Tell us what we did. If there's a fine, we'll pay it. Want to know how many calls I got back? 0.
Councilman Paul Riddick will be the first to tell you he is not a fan of Scotty's, but he voted against the move.
Meals tax is something that doesn't have anything to do with safety.
He says black-owned businesses with mostly black patrons are being targeted unfairly.
Well, the thing is, that piece of paper warning you of the public hearing told you the procedure. And it's a government entity. There's no go around. There's no handshake deal with, your friend in the side office.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look.
He has voted against measures with culture, legacy, and now Scotty Quiggs.
They were just trying to find a reason to get a certain element off of Granby Street.
Now, Scotty's cannot serve alcohol, have live music, or stay open after 2 a.m.
The nightlife is kind of being scapegoated when the clubs and venues are a very small part, if at all, in violence that's even happening around the Sunflower Club.
So this is Sunman logic. The reason they're saying that this is downtown. They're saying at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, without that club playing hip hop music and being open for parties, that there would be the same amount of violence down here at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Well, what's that say about Sunmen? That if there was no reason for them to be there killing people, they'd still be there killing people.
Right. I just don't believe that, man.
Well, they also say they need the clubs because they're bored.
Yeah. This would be the safest place in the world if that club wasn't there.
Around the Sunflower Club.
Charles Brown II works closely with upcoming artists and entertainers. He feels the younger generation is not being heard.
And it feels like there is a bigger plan in place that we have nothing to do with. It feels like we're in the way when a lot of us are, again, providing opportunity, entertainment.
Riddick believes the numbers provided to council were not concrete numbers.
There should be a
Mr. Bull.
Council were not concrete numbers.
There should be a better effort to eliminate guns as opposed to waiting to trap people.
What?
My goodness.
This guy's trying to get in the camera ID system. That's what it is. That's his whole goal in this. Well, let's just install these these facial recognition cameras. That'll solve the problem.
Eliminate guns.
How would that solve the problem? So someone shoot up the block. They don't care. They don't care if the camera's there. I don't know why the guy thinks that will work.
You got cameras everywhere. Cameras. The camera experiment has been an abject failure. So, like, I don't know. This guy said we got to try to get rid of the guns instead of trying to trap people.
All the camera experiment does is prove that you can find the people without the help of the community with the no snitching code.
There should be a better effort to eliminate guns as opposed to waiting to trap people.
Whose guns? What, some men's guns?
And Riddick says next is Burrito Bar. The council will review their permit in November. He says
Burrito Bar. They're going after you Latinos, man. Out of your own burritos, man. And this is just that one little area around Portsmouth. There's a few little towns down there, and you would think this was a fucking metropolis. The amount of fucking crime and shootings and problems they have down there.
Yeah, this is old downtown Portsmouth.
Yeah,